You know, a lot of people think that being a cemetery detective is an easy job, but they don't know the half of it. Just take a look at this case that came across my desk the other day. The subject of this case is Timothy Clark, who died way back in 1752. Apparently, he's buried somewhere in a cemetery in Lebanon, Connecticut. The client for this case had this to say: "This is my great-great-great-grandfather, and I have been having a lot of trouble figuring out how his name is spelled. I'm hoping that the tombstone will be the answer. Is it Clark with no E or Clark with an E? Thanks." Now, I knew from the start that this was going to be a tough case to crack, so I did what any good detective would do. I set up a stakeout across from the cemetery. I thoroughly checked around for clues, and I conducted interviews with some of the locals. And before long, I had the answer. It's Clark with an E. All right, so in reality, what that actually was a request from findagrave.com, which, if you don't know what Find a Grave is, it's basically an online database for cemeteries and gravestones all across the world. I use this website extensively when I'm doing research for my videos. And one of the coolest things about the website is that you can put in requests for volunteers to take photos of gravestones or answer questions about cemeteries. Like, for example, maybe you're doing genealogical research and you find out that your great-great-great-great-great-grandmother is buried somewhere in Alabama, but you live in California. So you might want to ask and see if somebody could head down to the cemetery and take a picture of your long-lost relative. So that's what we're going to do here today. Go around a few cemeteries and fulfill some requests. Because I've always thought that doing this is a super fun and rewarding hobby that encourages you to get outside and interact with local history. So let's find some more graves. All right, so this is Old Cemetery, where I found Lieutenant Timothy Clark's grave for that intro there. Before we leave this cemetery and move on to the next one, let's see if we can find at least one other request. There's actually 89 open requests in this cemetery. I'm guessing because this is one of the oldest cemeteries in Connecticut, so a lot of the inscriptions are really worn and faded by now. So many of them are pretty much unreadable, and I'm guessing a lot of those requests will never get an answer. But maybe we can get at least one. All right, I think we got a really interesting one right off the bat. Somebody put in a request for a cenotaph for somebody named Captain Walter Hyde, which, if you don't know, a cenotaph is a grave monument for someone who isn't actually buried in that particular spot. So if they're usually used for someone whose like body can't be recovered, like if they died in battle and were buried in a mass grave, or they died at sea or something like that, then you might put up a cenotaph in a cemetery to memorialize that person without actually having their body. And according to the person who put in this request here, there should be a giant sandstone monument in the middle of the graveyard with a very lengthy inscription that says that Captain Hyde died in battle in September of 1776 and was buried in an undistinguishable grave along with a bunch of other people who died in the battle. And so there should be a big sandstone cenotaph somewhere in this cemetery. Okay, that should, if it's still here, it shouldn't be too hard to find, because sandstone kind of sticks out. Like, here's one right here. No, I don't think so. No, the person who put in the request actually included the entire, oh, there's another one right there. The person who put in the request put in the full inscription that should be on the cenotaph. And I guess they actually pulled it out of a genealogical register from 1858. So let's see. Oh my God, this is definitely it. This is 100% it. Hey, they got somebody put in this little modern metal monument marker for him here too. But this is 100% the sandstone cenotaph that the requester wanted a picture of. Look at that. That's cool. So check that out. It says, this monument is erected in memory of Captain Walter Hyde, who was of approved integrity, a useful member of society, a kind husband, an affectionate parent, a lover of his country, and a firm supporter of the rights of mankind. You can see pretty well from looking at this why sandstone markers aren't that common in comparison to the other types of stone that people used for gravestones back in the day. Because just look how much weathering is on the side of this. How much of the marker has been chipped away over the years. Unfortunately, the cenotaph is backlit by the sun right now, so kind of tough to get you a good picture of the front. But pretty cool we found this one so quickly. Alright, apparently there's a really tiny cemetery in the woods, like somewhere around here. We're gonna go see if we can take some quick pictures. Ones like this are always questionably trespassing, so we're gonna try to be quick. We're looking for Peleg rounds and Dorcas rounds. Oh, there's Peleg. Gotcha. And here's Dorcas leaning against a tree. Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's get out of here before somebody calls the cops. Alright, I found a cemetery with an open request that's like next to a pond in the middle of the woods behind some houses, and I didn't think I'd be able to go to that one, but I just drove by it anyway, and I saw this weird little road here, so I guess we're gonna go down here and see if by chance this actually snakes its way down by the cemetery, and maybe we can grab the picture. Yeah, again, for some of these, you kind of got to do some like questionable trespassing, but as long as there's no sign that says no trespassing, I usually feel like it's okay. All right, well, that just took us to a pond. I think the cemetery is like somewhere in that area, so maybe if I just kind of crash through the woods a little bit over here, I can make it. Oh, there's actually a little trail thing right here. All right. Nobody has been on this trail in a long time. Okay, that path disappeared very quickly. I'm kind of just walking through a bog now in the direction of the GPS coordinates that I got for the cemetery. According to my map, the cemetery should be like right around here somewhere, but I don't see it yet. Gotta get across this bog first. Okay. Oh, I found it. Hell yes. Very tiny little cemetery with hardly a path going to it through the woods. Look at these graves. Look at this one. We are looking for Mary Potter. There she is. All right, we're at a little bit more of a regular cemetery for this one. We're looking for Benoni Waterman, who is another grave entry that already has a photo, but somebody put in a request saying, I realize that the memorial already has a photo, but it's blurry and impossible to read. A better photo would be appreciated. Let's see if we can help. I'm here at a very large cemetery, way larger than I thought it was, in Danielson, Connecticut, looking for Ephraim Pretense. The person who put in this request says that the stone will say father on it. So hopefully I'll be able to spot it among probably thousands of graves here. And also the sun is going down. Spotted it. I checked on Find a Grave, and this guy's entire family was already cataloged. So I just looked at their pictures, saw this extremely recognizable headstone, and so I just been wandering around looking for that. And there he is. It does indeed say father on it. Okay, I'm standing under some power lines right now because there's a cemetery that I want to go to that I think it looks like the best way to get to it is by just following these power lines for a while, and then it should just be right off to the side. And I found this path here under the power lines I've been following, but it just ends right here, and there's some really thick brush. But on Find a Grave, this particular cemetery does not even have a photo for the cemetery itself, let alone the actual grave that somebody put a request in for. So I feel like for the betterment of society, I gotta push through and try to find my way to this cemetery. Gotta blaze new trails, figuratively and literally. All right, here we go. Well, I found a game trail. Check this out. Yeah, now we're cruising. gotta find it. All right, so I just crashed my way through all those bushes there and immediately found this very nice little trail right here that I almost definitely could have used to get to this point without having to go through the brush. Okay, so now I guess just got to keep an eye out on the left here for the cemetery. Following my GPS, seems like it should be in this neighborhood. Okay, so I'm having a lot of trouble finding this one even with the GPS. According to Find a Grave, there's literally only 3 stones in this cemetery. So I'm kind of just wandering around off the side here looking for a random headstone. Oh my God, I just found it. No way. There it is. Look at that. Oh, it's actually still pretty visible too. Russell Remington, born 1776, died 1817 at 41 years old. Wow. I've talked about them many times on this channel before, but it really is just so incredible how many of these tiny little cemeteries there are scattered all across New England, and especially Rhode Island. Just 3 graves in the middle of nowhere. Just look at this stone. It's literally completely by itself in the middle of the woods. Okay, here's the sad thing though. The 2 graves that have requests on them are Sarah Knight and Lauren Lawrence. And unfortunately, the only other actual headstones that I can see anywhere around here are these 2 unmarked field stones right here, with no inscription. Just these are definitely grave markers for sure, but I don't know if I can submit these to fulfill the request, because for all I know this could be different people. It's very possible it's the people that the requester wants, but I don't know. Well, but like I said, this cemetery literally does not even have a cemetery photo, so at the very least, I can take care of that.